Well, National Police spokesperson Athlenda Mathe says officers are yet to speak to alleged political fixer Brown Mogotsi. It comes after an apparent hit on a vehicle he was travelling in Vosloorus last night. Mogotsi has been mentioned by several witnesses at the Madlanga Commission and the South African Police Service Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee.
Of concern is that he has not presented himself to this particular police station. He has been postponing, and we also reached out to him, our police officers reached out to him to say, okay, if you don't feel safe meeting at one of our stations, then let us come to a place, let's go to a place that would be most convenient for you, where you would feel more secured. So he has not responded to, give us a location, a possible location where we could meet him. But our investigations are continuing. You can see our ballistics experts. They're quite busy with the car that was allegedly shot at. They're doing their work, and our investigations continue, not only here at that particular crime scene where this alleged attempted assassination happened.
Let's stay with the police spokesperson Athlenda Mathe, who adds that top ballistics experts have been called in to probe the matter.
Well, absolutely, we're not leaving anything to chance. We've roped in Colonel Mangena. He's helped solve, high-profile cases in this country. So we thought, let us rope him in to try and assist us to solve this particular case, the alleged attempted murder of Mr. Brown Mogotsi. For the mere fact that there was an attempted murder, it becomes a state case. We are obliged to open a docket and investigate and get to the bottom of what really transpired. So whether or not Brown Mogotsi disposes a statement, an affidavit on what transpired last night, we are still continuing. We've got, a mandate to execute, to investigate and get to the bottom of what really happened last night. But we are still urging him to really present himself, make himself available so that we can get to the bottom of what really transpired yesterday. As I've indicated earlier, he alleges that, a group of suspects driving a white bikie were chasing after him, and they started shooting at him. So we just need more details, just to close all the loopholes so as to continue with our investigations.
All right, so that was the Brigadier Athlenda Mathe addressing much earlier in the day. In fact, it was in the morning. Well, up until now, Mogotsi is yet to open a case with the police. Forensic investigations and crime expert Dorothy Mmushi joining us now to try and make sense of what has happened today. And we'll start with Mr. Brown Mogotsi. Good evening to you, Dorothy. What should the South African public be thinking at this stage about what appears to be Brown Mogotsi's refusal to open a case with the police? How should we rationalize this?
Good evening, Polly, to yourself and your viewers. The public has a lot of speculation on whether there is foul play or is this a staged assassination attempt. Because even if you look on the socials, the comments that people have been giving are bringing a lot of doubt into whether indeed this was a attempted assassination.
And I'm glad that you are suggesting that, because it's not only people on social media that are saying all of this or that are viewing this with suspicion. If you look at the media reports that have since been published on the back of this incident, there appears to be suggestions that there are witnesses who saw this person who had been driving in this car stopping and actually pumping bullets into the car. So the very same occupant of the car stopped and started pumping bullets at the car. These are media reports from very credible media organizations. Should we take that as gospel right now, or shall we leave it to the ballistics experts, people like Chris Mangena?
Okay, Polly, how this whole thing is going to unfold, the SAPS will clearly have to conduct a thorough investigation into the alleged assassination. That would also include collecting evidence through ballistics, through eyewitnesses. But what was key was the statement from the complainant, which in this case would have been Brown Mogotsi. So what is of interest is, why would an individual who has been exposed to an attempted assassination not have the appetite to cooperate with the police and at least just give them a statement? We have seen that he's allegedly somewhere in hiding with his family, and that it's alleged that he does not have trust in the police and therefore would not come forth. But now what is of interest is, why does he not then send a statement that just outlines what transpired yesterday when this attempted assassination took place?
Yeah.
So it's also bordering on his credibility as an individual who has said he's willing to come and give evidence at the Madlanga Commission or at Parliament's ad hoc committee.
Well, let's conclude around Brown Mogotsi with this particular question, because we can't look away from it. He does have somewhat of a difficult relationship with the police. Last month, they raided his business operations, and he complained that so many police officers going after one man, and he has a problem with that. And at that time of the raid, he said that he was worried about meeting with them in the dead of night. Should that be a factor? Can we afford to gainsay these suspicions on his part?
Well, he has had a run-in with the police, but I mean, in his situation, if this has in actual fact taken place, there's nothing wrong with him approaching the NPA and asking for protection and indicating that there has been an attempted assassination on his life, and therefore he could then rather have this done through the NPA. So there's various avenues that he can explore if he wants to not engage with the SAPS. But also what one would ask themselves is, he's not fighting with the entire SAPS. There is still people who are credible that can be trusted in the SAPS. So therefore, if he wants assistance in terms of this attempted assassination issue to be resolved, he's supposed to cooperate with the police.
All right, let's then move on from Brown Mogotsi, but still keep him in the conversation, because in Parliament today, one of the deputy ministers, the last, I suppose, to be quizzed by that committee, is Dr. Polly Bushielo. And she was asked about Brown Mogotsi. Do you know about him? Do you know of him? And the answer is a straight no. Is that surprising, given what appears to be an arm's length distance both these deputy ministers seem to have, not only in police operations, which I suppose is a good thing, but also the ministry? This is now their principal, Mr. Senzo Mchunu. They don't have any delegated powers, and so there aren't any real duties they are executing at this time.
Yes, that was quite concerning. As we all heard today at Parliament's ad hoc committee, the deputy ministers do not have their delegations. So then you ask yourself, how were they then operating? How does someone wake up in the morning and perform their duties without the proper delegations being given to them? So that is something that's quite questionable. And we're hoping that Parliament's ad hoc committee will come out with proper recommendations to assist the SAPS in operating effectively. Because if your deputy ministers do not have delegated authority, they cannot play a pivotal role in oversight or providing advice over the SAPS.
Let's then move on to the Madlanga inquiry. That seemed to be quite interesting today. Back on the stand is crime intelligence boss Dumsane Khumalo, who also is the leader of the political killings task team. And I suppose the testimony, or part of the testimony that really has gotten everyone talking, is the close relationship between the suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya with a character known as Stuart James right now. This is someone who appears to be providing close protection services to the suspended Deputy Police Commissioner. How should we view this as members of the public? Because this is someone who's a convicted criminal.
Polly, yes, I think the evidence led today by General Khumalo was quite explosive. We saw evidence of General Sibiya getting into a vehicle that's owned by Mr. James. According to the evidence that's been led, Mr. James has numerous convictions of car hijacking, but there's no evidence of him ever serving a sentence at a correctional facility. So that now brings about question to say, how come does this individual have a history of committing this type of crime? However, he has never been processed through any correctional facility. So hence you would also then link that to the allegations that General Mkhwanazi had brought out to say there is possible capture of the criminal justice system, which would include the courts and correctional facilities. So I think when the commission resumes tomorrow, those are elements that will have to be tested. But also what stood out for me was how this Mr. James was with General Sibiya at Parliament's ad hoc committee. He was actually sitting right behind him based on the footage that was shown at the Madlanga Commission today. So it's assumed that this Mr. James is a close protector of General Shadrack Sibiya. So what one would ask themselves is, when General Sibiya took on the services of this individual, if that is what his duty is, did he in actual fact perform any vetting on this guy? Where did he get him from? How did he choose him to become his close protector? And also what was mentioned in the commission today was whether SAPS is not tasked with providing close protection services for the Deputy National Commissioner. And that didn't come out clear in the evidence led by Lieutenant General Khumalo. So I'm hoping that tomorrow we will be able to establish the facts around the close protection of General Sibiya. But what we have seen is really explosive. It's something that brings about doubt, and it does in actual fact support the allegations that have been brought by General Mkhwanazi initially.
Let me harp on Stuart James for a moment, Dorothy, because as members of the public, hearing this information, look, we've got to give General Sibiya the benefit of the doubt here. And I say that with extreme difficulty, given what we have seen. These are visuals of someone who clearly has a number of convictions. He is sitting in Parliament, one of the most important committees right now conducting work on behalf of the people of this country. And there he is, seated behind Mr. Sibiya, clearly there at his behest. How angry should we be as the public?
Yeah, I think at this stage, as the public, we should allow the entire commission to take its course, let evidence be laid, let there be cross-examination conducted into these allegations and evidence that has been laid. And I can say, for example, if this Mr. James was indeed employed as a close protector for Shadrack Sibiya, you would then ask yourself, what led Shadrack Sibiya to go and look for his own personal security? Why was he not using what the SAPS would, under normal circumstances, provide for a Deputy National Commissioner? And as we heard, there's a process in which they would then do a risk assessment to establish whether the Deputy National Commissioner does require close protection. And in this instance, obviously, if the risk assessment was done, he would have been given a close protector. So if he had decided to utilize his own personal close protector, it would be based on things such as the fact that there's no, they don't see each other within the SAPS. So therefore, he might have wanted someone external to provide him with close protection services, because someone who provides that service is someone that you need to trust and someone who will protect your life. So maybe that might be one of the reasons why he decided to source his own personal close protector. In terms of his judgment for choosing a individual such as this Mr. James, that also can be left to speculation, and I'm sure General Shadrack Sibia will be given an opportunity to explain his decision on that.
We can't end the conversation without talking about other police members who seem to have a particular relationship with Mr. Katie Molefe. And this is evidenced by General Khumalo's team, who surveils the area before they decide to go on this quote-unquote takedown on the 6th of December last year. Is there any doubt right now in the minds of the public, in your mind, Dorothy, as to whether the South African Police Service at the very top has been infiltrated?
Sure. Well, based on the evidence that was led today by Lieutenant General Khumalo, he indicated and provided evidence where a Warrant Nkosi, who is within the office of the Deputy National Commissioner, was seen on CCTV footage that was retrieved from Katiso Molefe's home. And in this footage, we saw this warrant officer collecting a paper bag from Katiso Molefe, who then escorted him into his vehicle. So this all happened a couple of days before the arrest of Katiso Molefe. And as we all know, on the day of the arrest, there was some form of interference from the Hawks in terms of them trying to interfere with the PKTT when they were trying to arrest Katiso Molefe. So based on this evidence that has been produced, yes, of course, it will bring about speculation and doubt to say there was interference because there's been paper bags that are being channeled via certain individuals to officials within the SAPS that are high-ranking. So in all of this evidence, it's now starting to corroborate the allegations that have been brought with some of the evidence that has been led by the witnesses at the Madlanga Commission. So, of course, the public is still in shock. The public has a lot of speculation. But as I said, let's let this entire process unfold so that we can base our thoughts on factual evidence that has been tested at the Commission.
Dorothy Mmushi, thank you very much for your analysis tonight. Forensic investigations and crime expert.